This is TWiT.
There's been a years-long fight in Europe between the major cloud vendors and mostly Microsoft and Google, and it's been kind of fascinating. I don't cover this space explicitly, but I do get Google Cloud reach-outs regularly. And this, I don't know, it's a couple of days ago, yesterday, 2 days ago, Microsoft responded publicly in a very aggressive way.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded of I had a friend at Microsoft, Dave Calton, many years ago. He was talking at the time about Dell and Microsoft and about how terrible they were to each other. And his assessment was these two companies deserve each other. And I think this could apply here, right? And so what you've got is these three big American big tech companies, right?
Right.
Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Google being the smallest of the three, right? Trying to win customers, trying to whatever. We've talked. I think we've glossed over this a little bit in the past. We talked maybe about this notion of egress fees, right? Where
make it hard for people
antitrust murmurs like what is this? And I maybe I'm getting the order wrong, but I want to say late last year, maybe December last year, Amazon got rid of egress fees in Europe and probably worldwide. Google followed in January, and then Google immediately complained that Microsoft had egress fees, which I thought was hilarious.
Yes.
It was like 2 seconds later, the argument against
that's
Microsoft.
only all this year, Like,
okay, all right.
I know it's
all
hard.
happened this year.
It's the end of October, but all that egress debate was this year.
Okay, so there's also been, all these companies have all these antitrust investigations, so it's kind of hard to keep track of this stuff. But there have been these industry groups that are made up of mostly European cloud companies, which are all very small. You've never heard of any of them.
Yeah.
And rallying against Microsoft's egress fees in this case, or whatever it is, Microsoft settled with them. Microsoft is now accusing Google of organizing that trade group and, in fact, controlling it. And it's the accusations are insane. Like I strongly
presumably
recommend.
they have the evidence to back it up.
They link to the evidence. They do have. It's
All right.
crazy.
So
now, well, Google has reached out to me since I wrote about this, and what they've said, and I've kind of added a quote from them, I think is the way I handled it. But they point to two specific instances where Microsoft points to something to say this is how Google is doing something secretly. To say, if you actually go there and look at it, you can see that we are explicitly part of this thing they say we are secretly part of, or something.
So it's not secret.
I mean, Microsoft's complaint against them is basically that Google is waging a proxy war on Microsoft, right? Google wants, to gain ground on Microsoft in the space, obviously. That makes sense competitively. But the way they're doing it is to complain to antitrust regulators, to rile up local European cloud vendors who maybe don't care, to pay them if they don't show enough enthusiasm.
That's, I think, the line. That's the question I was going to ask. Like, it's all fine to, loop folks in and rile them up, but the moment you're paying for them, you're astroturfing.
One of the right. One is exactly what that's exactly Microsoft's charge.
Yeah.
So according to Microsoft, this trade group in Europe of cloud vendors settled with Microsoft. The case was going to end. They went to the European Commission, said, "Forget it. We're not doing this anymore. You don't have to worry about this lawsuit." Google offered to pay them lots of money, hundreds of millions of dollars. They declined it.
Wow.
And then Microsoft publicized it. So this is
ugly.
Some little fun to look at. There's nothing better than Godzilla and King Kong squaring off against each other.
One of them's Mothra. I'm pretty sure one of them.
The problem here is I have this naive desire for these companies to maybe they compete in certain areas. I get this, but I feel like this kind of thing ruins any chance of these companies ever doing anything together. And it's
I don't know the answer to that. They always, they're still all on the same Chromium board, right?
I know, but that's such a small bottom line. I know,
but they're all small bits.
Those guys do get along. I hear about that. I mean, that part of Microsoft and that part of Google so far has been going great. Apparently,
but remember, it's Google. As long as it's not search, it's just not that important.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the beautiful lines in this Microsoft document, let me see if I can find this, is they said, by our count, Google has at least 24 antitrust investigations against it. At a time when Google should be focused on addressing legitimate questions about its business, it's doing this instead, right?
That is a big glass house.
That is
standing
brutal.
in, man.
That's brutal.
That is a
big
glass house.
at that level of a company that big, that's bare fist fighting. Like that's crazy. You don't talk like that.
And they're not even suing each other.
No, it's
That's
nuts.
the irony of it. It's not like they're in a court case together.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Even Apple didn't sue Google for this mobile stuff. They went after Samsung.
Yeah.
You just don't. It's so direct. It's amazing.
You don't tug on Superman's cape, man.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know, it's nuts. Anyway, it's notable for that reason. You should read this whole thing. It's there's a lot of very direct accusations in there. So that's humorous.
Hey, it's me, Leo Laporte. I hope you've enjoyed this little snippet from Windows Weekly. If you want to see more and want to catch the whole show, you can subscribe in your favorite podcast client or visit our website, twit.tv/WW. And of course, there's links right below me.